What ultimately ended up becoming Transformers Prime was in development at Hasbro for several months before we engaged the studio team.
At Hasbro, we're constantly in development for the next thing. So as we wound down Transformers Animated and looked to figure out what we were going to do for the future, we started to pull together our stories and characters and the best new way to bring those together. And around late '09 is when we first started pitching ideas and talking to what became the studio.
Before each season of Transformers Prime begins, the Hasbro Transformers brand team and the Hasbro Studios team get together and we brainstorm what potential story arcs for the upcoming season can be, some of the new characters, who they could be, and how they can interact with our existing cast.
Our job really is to maintain the characters, make sure nothing can go wrong with them. They're treated well, we have a plan, we can create a master plan across many different formats with the story and ideas.
Some of the challenges in working with any of our partners is conveying that huge sense of history that the Transformers brand has. We live with it here at Hasbro every single day. We're familiar with all the different expressions of the brand. We're familiar with the multitude of characters that exist. So sometimes it's difficult for us to remember that not everyone's been exposed to the amount of lore that we have. So that's where we come in and give little details, like Optimus Prime doesn't speak with contractions, how Bumblebee and Bulkhead might react in certain situations.
Ratchet, I would lay down my life for Optimus, anytime, anywhere. But a mind-body split, you will?
So it's important that while we still reinvent the characters, both in look and in the expression and the form they take in the show, that they're still recognizable as our characters. That Optimus Prime may look different, but there's still some character details there that make him Optimus Prime, and that way the fans can recognize him when they see him on the screen.
We are few, but strong. We have suffered losses, but we have grown. And we would relish welcoming a new member into our fold.
I would be honored.
It's a two-way street, so what the studio can bring, the production can bring to Transformers is as they develop those stories, they have an idea where they want to take the characters, and often those aren't covered off in the lore, so at that point it's kind of a discussion, and often they're great ideas, and we're really excited about bringing them forward into the modern lore. The Viacon Troopers is a good example of that, as well as Unicron being in the center of the Earth. Previous to that, he was a whole entity, a separate planet. So that was a very different approach for that main character that the fans know. And we were happy to go that way because it felt that it added to the story.
Now know me as Unicron, your destroyer!
We also work with them to flush out the new characters.
New characters in the franchise always excite our fans, and in the case of Prime, we've added Makeshift, Air Arachnid, and Knockout.
Knockout is really one of those characters that has surprised us with how popular he is with the fans. It's the voice acting, it's the look of the character. At BotCon this year, there were plenty of fans dressed up as Knockout, and there was a big reaction when Hasbro displayed the upcoming Knockout toy.
Doctor in the house.
Ah, Knockout. And how is the patient doing today?
Same old.
Anytime we create new characters and give them personalities, the fans respond very well. So we're always excited to bring new characters to the story as well.
We knew from the beginning that we wanted a character on the Decepticon side that was going to be just completely loyal to Megatron and be a force to be reckoned with when in combat with the Autobots. The character Lugnut worked so well in Transformers Animated that when we started thinking about who that cast in Transformers Prime could be, Lugnut was in that storyline. But because Lugnut is so iconic and you know he can't really turn into anything other than an airplane, we already had so many flight vehicles in the show that we really needed to have a character that was a ground-based vehicle and ultimately Lugnut got swapped out for the character Breakdown.
Bulkhead! Imagine you and I bumping into each other in the middle of nowhere while tracking a stray energon signal.
Yeah, Breakdown. It must be your lucky day.
Before there was ever any involvement from Hasbro Studios, the main brand team here in Rhode Island began developing art and character concepts for who could be in this new television series. Some of the core cast was still there: Optimus Prime, Megatron, Ratchet, Bumblebee, but we also had Ironhide in development at the time. And ultimately, the reason Ironhide didn't make it into the series was because of his upcoming death in Dark of the Moon. And we felt that, well, since Ironhide died in the film, would it be confusing for kids, even though it's not the same storyline? But kids being very familiar with the film, we didn't want to confuse anybody, and ultimately we ended up switching out Ironhide for Bulkhead.
Open the bridge, Ratchet. We're missing all the action.
I'll prepare sickbay.
Who for? The cons?
Once the show began its development, we brainstormed that when Megatron makes his appearance, one of the characters has to die. An Autobot has to die. And so our initial concept was that we were going to build up a character who was kind of a tier B or a tier C character before, and we were going to build this character up throughout the entire season, and then at the end of the season, when Megatron makes his appearance, that character, who hopefully at that point would be everybody's favorite character, was going to meet his end, to show just how much of a threat Megatron could be. When we started thinking about who that character was, the studio wanted to move the death of that character up to the beginning of the season to show that anything can happen in Transformers Prime. And they came to us with a suggestion of Smokescreen. And because that's one of our favorite characters here, we ended up switching him out for Cliffjumper, who's actually one of my other favorite characters.
Decepticons.
I'm surprised at just how well received Cliffjumper was to the fans. He was an old character from the lore that not a whole lot of people saw, and what was really great was that a lot of the marketing imagery from Transformers Prime before a show had ever aired included Cliffjumper, and it really made the fans think that Cliffjumper was one of the core cast who was going to be throughout the entire show.
You want the horns? You got 'em.
One of the greatest opportunities for real product innovation in any Transformers series, and particularly Transformers Prime, is bringing that visual style to the transforming toy product and really translating Jose Lopez's awesome style of what Transformers Prime is into product is one of the more challenging aspects of what we do, and that's the challenge that we really like to take on. And I think the products show a good balance between what's in the show and what's on shelf.
Working with the studio is great. They're incredibly talented people, and they're creating these wonderful stories and these characters. The biggest challenge we have is that we want to create the same type of toy, but we want that toy to hit the retail shelf the same time that the Prime animation is on the air. So when your consumer's watching Prime and goes, wow, this is awesome, they want to go buy those products.
In order to design a transformer to go from a robot to vehicle and vice versa, you need to be able to have a lot of those, a good looking model early on so that we can really make that toy look as accurate as possible, and to really figure out how is the transformation going to happen.
The animation process takes a certain amount of time, whereas the toy development process takes longer. It takes about 2 years to develop a toy from concept to finished product.
Sometimes we have to start working on a toy before they have the character fully designed, because we have a lot of processes and steps that we go through for transformation development, for character development, and feature development.
The biggest challenge is, pretty much saying, hey studio, we gotta get this artwork now. As they're creating the characters and the story and fleshing this out, and they're responding to us and telling us what the story is, and we're in love with it. My first comment is, okay, where's the artwork? I need that now. I want to do that character really bad. And it's getting that artwork from the studio as quickly as possible so we can get to having enough time to develop the best toys possible.
Well, there's always going to be challenges translating products, classic lore, new ideas, a CG show, and that's really the tough job that we do at Hasbro and at Hasbro Studios, is to kind of come together and figure out how to make the best show for all involved. And the most difficult part really is just sitting down and working through it. And it's a great team, and we really have worked hard through the couple of years to get to the point where we have a great dialogue and we keep firing. It's great.
I think the other part too is just from a technical, is taking those great designs of the characters in the show and making them transform.
We have to have a transformation that works intuitively, and at the same time it has to be fun and new. So when you're working with a form that may be more designed for a show or be more dynamic character on screen, sometimes their proportions, sometimes their forms don't really work out well for toy. So we have to take that design and rework it a bit, but still keep it very close to the show design without deviating too much from that core character's feel. So when we go in to design a product, we may have to change the orientation of the wheels a bit, or we may have to change the face of the car so that we can actually have a break so the transformation can happen smoothly and intuitively.
It's an engineering marvel that to be able to do that, and you can design a character that looks like what kids and fans are seeing on screen, and making sure that that can translate into a toy that everyone can do, that they can make that transformation and it looks accurate to what's in the show, both in vehicle and robot form.
Autobots, roll out!
One of the challenges in creating the Transformer Prime toys is how do we bring it to life? You're watching this phenomenal animation. These characters are in 3D, they're real. And in the transformation, you want to have a play pattern that brings that character to life also. And so what we did is we created what we called intuitive transformation. And what happens is, as you transform the toy, when you get to the last stage, you pull the arms out or you pull the chest down, and something reveals, the head pops up, and the character becomes alive, becomes a real character, just like he does in the show.
The kind of innovations we brought to the Transformers Prime products was to really play up that character's weapon and accessories.
We've got a new toy called the Weaponizer's Assortment, and where some of the weapons of the Transformers, where they come out of the bodies of the Transformers in Prime, we're able to do that in toys. We have the weapons hidden in the chest cavities of the Transformers or in their backs, and with a button you're able to release those weapons. They come out of the characters, whether they come over the shoulders or they come out of the chest, both in vehicle and robot form. For the first time ever, we're doing a first fully transforming remote control Transformers. So it goes from robot to vehicle back and forth with a remote control. So very cool transformation that we're doing there to match the Prime show.
The great thing about the Transformer Prime line is that we're able to bring some new innovation with scale. And we're able to bring a smaller scale character and vehicle play and ships and playset type play that you usually don't see in Transformers.
Everyone thinks that with the Transformers, that's a robot that changes into a vehicle, car, jet, things like that. So they don't need other vehicles to ride in. Well, one thing you see in Transformers Prime is the Nemesis ship, that the Decepticons fly in to do space travel, or Energon drillers, because they're down drilling in the earth, drilling out Energon.
We wanted to bring that to life with Transformers. So you're going to see more play sets, more vehicles.
It's a great opportunity for us to kind of really bring that world of Transformers together.
Hasbro is always developing its Transformers characters, and when we're involved with an animation production, so like Transformers Prime, what we try to do is make sure and maintain certain attributes of our core characters and story, while partnering and letting a lot of great creation come into the fold as well.
I'm a big fan of the original show. I think the new Transformers Prime show is the best Transformer show that's ever been created. I absolutely love it. But I grew up on the original show too, so I know a lot of those original characters. And characters I'd like to see, I'd love to see some of the gigantic Titan type of characters, those colossal characters of Fortress Maximus, Omega Supreme, Metroplex, those really gigantic characters. I would love to see them in the show. They're fantastic to see. Two of my personal favorites in Autobots, Huffer and Brawn. I would love to see those characters in there. But it's a lot of personal favorites I had as a kid that you want to see on the screen come to life. It'd be fun to see those, but maybe in the future, we'll see.
There are some characters that I would love to see show up in Transformers Prime. Hopefully Prowl, maybe Blue Streak. I'm a big fan of those guys. and I would really love to see them animated in that Transformers Prime styling.
What characters would I like to see in Transformers Prime? There's two. One's a group and one's a particular character. The particular character would be Springer, because I want to do an Autobot helicopter that's a triple changer in Prime. I think the show's design aesthetic is beautiful, and I think for a triple changer and for a helicopter, as we saw with Arachnid, I think it could be really cool as a Autobot helicopter that can also transform into another mode. And the other characters are the Sharkticons, because they're awesome and they're shark robot dudes that eat everything.
The characters I like most to see in Transformers Prime honestly have already made it into the show, or maybe will soon make it to the show. But there are fan favorites and my favorites that might not be the most appropriate, but I would love to see Cosmos or Oil Slick or some of those kinds of characters in a program in the future.
What characters do I want to see in Transformers Prime? I'm going to keep that a secret. One of the biggest magical moments of watching an animation or watching a movie is what character pops up next. You don't know who that's going to be. And as we sit down, we have our brainstorms, we talk about the character selection that we want to do. We have that bank of characters. We know who's coming out next. I don't want to reveal anything by saying who I want or who I don't want. So I'm going to leave that up to what you guys see on the air.